So, you might have seen a notification pop up on your iPhone recently, a new update.
Yeah, iOS 18.4.1.
Exactly. And what's kind of interesting is it landed just, 2 weeks after the last one, 18.4.
That's right. Very quick turnaround. Usually signals something important.
Yeah, that's what we thought. We've been digging into a Forbes article about it, trying to understand why this, seemingly minor update is one Apple's really pushing for everyone to install, like right now. So our deep dive today is really all about figuring out, well, why? Why the rush? Why the strong recommendation?
Makes sense. Because when updates pop up this fast, you have to assume there's a pretty good reason. Something significant they needed to fix, and fast.
We need to look beyond just the surface level description, right?
Totally. Get to the real why behind it.
Okay, so let's start with who this is actually for. Which iPhones get this update?
Good place to start.
The Forbes piece says basically, if your iPhone is from 2018 or newer, you're getting it.
Right.
So that's like the iPhone X's, the X's Max, the X Air.
The 2018 lineup, yeah.
And then everything after that. All the way up to the current iPhone 16 series, even the 16. Oh, and the second and third gen iPhone SEs too.
So pretty much anyone with a relatively recent iPhone.
Yeah, it's a really wide range.
And that wide compatibility, it kind of suggests the problems aren't just tied to the absolute newest hardware.
Good point. Like it's something more fundamental, maybe?
Could be. Affecting a whole lot of users.
Right. Okay, now for folks who haven't hit install yet, how do you actually get it? It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Yeah. Standard procedure, really.
You just pop into settings.
Then general.
Then software update. And you'll see download and install there.
Simple enough.
The Forbes article mentions a size around 570 megabytes on an iPhone 16 Pro Max. The author said it took less than 10 minutes to install, and actually, same for me, it was really quick.
Yeah, under 10 minutes sounds about right. And that ease, that speed, that's got to be deliberate on Apple's part.
You think so?
Oh, definitely. If they need people to update quickly, especially for security reasons, they need the process to be as painless and fast as possible. Fewer barriers.
Makes sense. Okay, so the big question then, why now? Why so soon after 18.4? I mean, that update already had, over 60 security fixes? And new features, too.
Exactly. You'd think that would cover things for a while. So what was so urgent it couldn't wait?
Well, Apple's own release notes, they mention one specific thing, a fix for a rare issue.
Yes, the CarPlay connection problem.
Right. That prevents wireless CarPlay connection in some cars.
And the emphasis on wireless is interesting, isn't it? Forbes highlights that wired connections were apparently fine.
Yeah, no issues if you plugged it in.
So it suggests the bug was specifically in how the phone talks wirelessly to certain, car systems, not all of them clearly.
Right, and the Forbes writer actually mentioned they tried to reproduce it. Like, they tested it in a few different cars with wireless CarPlay and couldn't get it to fail.
Which kind of backs up Apple's rare description.
It does, but, the article makes a fair point. Even if it is rare, if you're someone who relies on CarPlay, especially for maps.
Oh, yeah. Navigation.
And suddenly it just won't connect wirelessly, that could be a massive pain. Even if it only happens sometimes.
True. A functioning connection is pretty essential for a lot of drivers.
Yeah.
But does that alone justify the rapid update push?
Yeah.
Maybe not entirely.
That's what I was thinking. The CarPlay fix is what's listed, but it feels like.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole story.
Exactly. The Forbes article mentions the usual bug fixes and security updates line, but then it zeroes in on two specific security vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities that are apparently already being exploited. And that sounds much more like the reason for the urgency.
Okay, right. This is where it gets serious. So what are these flaws?
The first one involves CoreAudio.
CoreAudio.
Okay.
That handles all the sound stuff on your iPhone, right? Like speakers, headphones.
Pretty much anything audio related, yeah. And the problem is, apparently, if your phone processes a specially crafted malicious audio file.
Like a bad sound file.
Essentially, yeah. It could allow an attacker to run their own code on your device. Arbitrary code execution, they call it.
Wow. Okay. Without you knowing.
That's the danger. And Apple put out a statement, didn't they? Saying they are aware of a report that this issue may have been exploited.
In an extremely sophisticated attack against specific targeted individuals on iOS. Yeah, I saw that quote.
That phrasing is key. Extremely sophisticated, specific targeted individuals.
So not just random attacks hitting everyone.
Probably not, at least not initially. The article suggests, and it makes sense, that the targets are likely people in sensitive positions. Think, journalists, activists, politicians, government officials. People who might have information attackers really want.
So like a hidden backdoor triggered by a sound file? That sounds, well, scary.
It's incredibly stealthy, and that's why it's so concerning, even if the current attacks are targeted.
Because the exploit exists, right?
Right.
And the longer it's out there,
the higher the chance that more attackers could figure it out and maybe use it more broadly. That's the urgency.
So how did Apple fix it?
They said they addressed a memory corruption issue.
Memory corruption. Okay, what does that mean in, like, simple terms?
Think of it like a flaw in how the system organizes its instructions in memory. Yeah. Like a messy filing cabinet where things can get put in the wrong place or overwritten.
Okay.
And attackers can sometimes exploit that mess to sneak in their own instructions, basically hijacking the process. Fixing it means tidying up that filing system, making sure things can't be misplaced or maliciously altered.
Got it. Like locking down a potential entry point.
Precisely. A very critical entry point that was being used for these targeted intrusions.
Okay, so that's one. What was the second major security flaw?
It involves something called RPASSEC, Return Pointer Authentication Code.
RPAC. Sounds technical.
It is, yeah. It's essentially a security feature built into the chip. Think of it like a bodyguard for critical parts of the phone's operating system code.
Trying to stop attackers from messing with the core instructions?
Exactly. It verifies that the code execution is flowing correctly and hasn't been tampered with. But there was another vulnerability, another zero-day flaw.
Meaning it was already being exploited before Apple knew?
Yes. Again, seemingly in targeted attacks.
Yeah.
And this flaw allowed attackers to bypass RPAC.
Whoa! So they could get past the bodyguard.
Effectively, yeah. Picking the lock on that security measure and getting past RPAC is a big deal.
Why is that? What could they do then?
Well, bypassing a protection like RPAC could potentially give an attacker the ability to read and write memory they shouldn't have access to.
So, steal data. Or maybe install more malicious stuff.
Both are possibilities. It opens the door to much deeper compromise of the device. It essentially undermines a key layer of Apple's defense.
Okay, so these two flaws, CoreAudio and RPAC bypass, they sound pretty serious.
Yeah.
Way more serious than just a wireless CarPlay glitch.
Absolutely. And it's not just iPhones, is it?
No.
Yeah.
That's another important bit from the Forbes piece. These same two vulnerabilities, they affect other Apple stuff too.
Right, like iPads.
Some iPads, yeah. Apple TV boxes.